If you buy a piece of real estate with a partner, your partner, whether you're married or not. And it's harder to get out of a mortgage with someone than it is to get out of a marriage, right? You're locked in 30 years. You can't just go to the courthouse and get it annulled. You're stuck. So make sure you know who you're getting into business with. Welcome to REI Partners, where education, networking, and collaboration create wealth through real estate. We are a nationwide community of like-minded investors that is growing every day. Here, we educate, inspire, and empower you with the true benefits of real estate investment. Each month, we bring you new and practical content to help fuel your investing journey. At our meetups, we connect you with experienced investors, agents, and other industry professionals. We provide real-time coaching and mentorship to elevate your investment game. Our mission? To help you harness the power of the market through education and partnerships to build true wealth through real estate. Whether you're tuning in from the heart of the city or the comfort of your home, you're part of the REI Partners family. Get ready to transform your goals into reality. We are REI Partners, where your real estate journey begins. Let's get to work. Everybody, welcome to REI Partners. It's April 22nd, just after 6 o'clock. This is our first meetup in person at the Monterre Vineyards, and thank you so much for everybody for coming out. This is a lot more space, a lot more room than we're normally used to having. Everybody has places to walk and a chair to sit in, so thank you for coming. On the call, you won't be able to hear him, but Richard Clark is on here. He helps us run this as well. John Wargo back there, and Ryan Friend is on the call. He'll be joining between the four of us. We put on the meetup, and it's a good team to have. So thank you for your support. We're going to start off here, seeing if my mouse works. A few housekeeping items. We're going to keep it to 45 to 60 minutes, just so everybody doesn't get bored and leave on us, and then we'll stick around for networking afterwards. And if you could please turn off your cell phones while you're here, that'd be greatly appreciated, just to make sure that we're not interrupting anything. If you have to take a call, there's lots of room outside in the side rooms here. If there's a fire, go out that way or go out that way. Look for the red signs. You're all adults, so you can figure it out. Restrooms are over there. John is showing you very nicely where the restrooms are if you need to hit the head. And then please, if you didn't, when you got here, there's a sign-in sheet, a QR code on the desk back there, and a name tag sheet. Please make sure that we know. There's a questionnaire on there. It's a Google form. Please sign if you haven't. And then there's a donation bucket back there if you'd like to help cover the cost of tonight. Again, it's not required, but it's back there. So I'm going to put Matt and Ashley on the spot for a second here. I'll turn the computer around for you. But this beautiful venue is possible. Thank you to them and their generosity for letting us hang out here. So I'm going to put you on a spot. There you go. So they could see.
So we'll get asked 7 more times tonight. You cannot buy a bottle of wine. We're not a winery. We are a commercial vineyard and grower here, but our primary business is weddings and special events, which is why that we're able to host this group in the venue here. And we also have a food service company, so you're enjoying some of our chef charcuterie tonight. My wife and Megan back here put it together for you. You don't have to see what I'm doing. So if you guys need anything throughout the evening, you can ask either of them. Also, 2 young aspiring real estate investors back there as well. So please network with them. Thank you.
Cool. Anything, Ashley?
I'm Ashley.
Cool. All right. Here's the next guy. You want to come up here or you want to stay back there? Yeah, come up here. You can talk. You can introduce yourself.
Hey guys out there. So I'm Ryan Harsh. I work with My City Lending, which is a local residential lending company. We have branches up and down the east coast of Pennsylvania. So we actually have a branch down in Tyler, Texas, and now one in Lexington, Kentucky as well. But we are licensed in 50 states, so we can help anywhere. I know everybody here, I think, is probably looking more in the Lehigh Valley, but if you do decide to look outside of that area, we can help you there. Generally, what we're going to help with is anything 1 to 8 units, right? Our bread and butter is 1 to 4 units, but we can do up to 8. And I am an investor myself. I have about 13 properties. I've got Airbnbs, I have long-term rentals, multifamily, single families, between Florida, New York, New Jersey Shore, here, Philadelphia, Scranton area too. So I kind of talk the talk. I've done renovations and flips and everything. So that's one of the nicer things about being able to work with investors like yourself, is that I like to see everybody make money, because it's good to see those returns and see what's going on out there. As far as products, obviously we can, mostly what we do would be your standard conventional FHA, USDA, VA stuff, right? Which maybe isn't what you're thinking about as an investor all the time, but we can help with house hacking with that sort of thing. And then obviously you can have up to 10 conventional investment properties, right? So recently the conventional rates are maybe not quite as good as they were, but they're still better than some of the debt service coverage stuff that's out there. So, but we can do debt service coverage as well. So if you're looking to buy an LLC, again, anything residential, if it's 1 to 8 units, you probably give me a buzz. If you're going to look at a shopping mall or something severely commercial, that would be outside of my territory though. So, yeah, quick, that was pretty much all about me. Like I said, our local operations are based in Scranton. So everybody that you'd be dealing with is in-house and local, and you're not going to be dealing with some big corporate ops center, halfway across the country or anything. Everything would be through me and my team. So if you guys ever have any questions, feel free to give me a buzz. I'd be happy to help. Cool. They cover everything. All right. So here's a few disclaimers before we get started. Richard hates this picture, but I don't care because I can't hear him on the phone anyway. That's him. He'll never show his face, but Richard's very cool. He's very, very knowledgeable. He does private equities. He's also a real estate agent in Western Pennsylvania. So you'll get to hear from him at some point. But please, a lot of people in this room are licensed in real estate, everybody on the call as well. So the stuff that we're talking tonight is not as an agent, it's not as an attorney or tax person. This is strictly us as investors. So please don't sue us. Just learn and verify everything you say. We're not liable for anything you learn. On YouTube, we have a very active page, and we've been going for about 3 years now. So please go on. All of these meetups are recorded. They're all in the same format. The further back you go, the more comical it gets. Watch the one that Bob put on, watch the one that John put on. There's a few people that have done classes for us in the past. So please go back on YouTube, follow us there, and on social media as well. You all found us on Meetup. If you didn't find us on Meetup, go to the website, sign up. That's how we're going to communicate in the future, so that we're all getting messages from a known system. The more emails you send, the more spam comes out and it gets flagged. So we want to make sure you get the message. This is something we talked about last time. If you guys are new investors or know new investors who are looking for some sort of one-on-one mentorship, this is something that we offer. Again, not as agents, but as REI partners. If you're looking to have one-on-one mentorship, learn how to be an investor, please call us. We can talk about what that looks like. This is a quote I have up every single meetup that changes the pictures based on what we're talking about. Everybody knows Robert Kiyosaki, and if you don't, please get familiar with him. He's the author of Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and this is a very powerful sentence here. Single most powerful asset you have is your mind, and if trained well, it can create enormous wealth. That's why we're all here, to learn and create wealth. And what we're going to do really quick, just for the purpose of time, 10 to 15 seconds. We're going to stick to the people in the room. Everybody on the call, if you could please do an intro in the text chat so everyone on the call can see who you are, just the name, background, your experience as an investor, things like that. But we're going to start in the room here. And I never do myself, so I will do that tonight very quick. My name's Matt Morrow. Most people here know me, but if you don't, I'm local to the Lehigh Valley. We have, can you guys mute the call, please? Thank you. Local to the Lehigh Valley, born and raised here. My family's here. My parents are back there at the table. They're co-investors in some projects we have. I have a total of 14 units.
I don't know.
Our niche. So, hey, Ryan, mute your call. I can hear you talking. Again, licensed real estate agent. We have a team here, awesome team.
4 of our agents are here tonight. They're wearing the shirts, CJ, John, Bob. So please, if you have any questions locally, there are other agents in the room. Again, we're not promoting our services, but if you have any questions about investment real estate, REI partners, or airplanes, see me. Love it. I'm going to start over with Christine.
Introduction to investment. I have one unit myself, 3 together. So definitely getting more familiar with the process and what all is involved here. So
Your turn.
Bob Sackle, I'm the ugly half of the two. Real estate investor for 27 years, real estate agent now, and proud member of the Morrow Wargo team.
Awesome. Elaine. Oh, sorry, I haven't.
him, I had a property for about 10 years now, right? Rental properties. And so property with you guys back in August. And we're here to just keep learning and growing our portfolio.
What she said, yeah.
My name's Andrew. I'm from Brooklyn, and I have a multifamily building out there. And I just happened to be in the neighborhood, saw this on Meetup, and thought I'd check it out.
Right on. Meetup works. Everybody knows him. Do you want to talk again? Okay.
Hi, I'm Lynn Kemper. It's my husband, Mark Addix.
Hi.
We think this is a great place for a meetup, and we were really inspired by seeing a meetup, real estate meetup in a vineyard. So we had to check it out. We're investors mainly on the West Coast,
Nice.
but love the Lehigh Valley. So we're looking here too.
Very cool.
Anything you
Thanks.
want to
Well, that's good.
Thanks for joining.
She said.
add?
Hi, I'm Neil Stark. I'm new to Lehigh Valley, house hacking right now and beginning investor and a real estate agent, and I'm here to learn.
Awesome.
Hello, my name's Engels. I'm a real estate agent, about 70 years, recent investor, and here to learn as much as I can from everyone who knows more than me.
Awesome.
Hi, I'm Alex Youngdahl. I'm a ER doc at Lehigh Valley, and just starting to get into the multifamily investment. I don't have any properties yet. Actually, yes, technically I have one, but we rent to my wife's parents, but that's about it. So
Good tenants.
Yeah.
You gotta keep them happy.
Everyone, CJ Sabo. I am a realtor on the Morrow Wargo team living here in Lehigh Valley.
What he said. No, I'm just his wife.
Hi, I'm John Liberati. I'm a real estate investor as well. I've been doing it for 30 some odd years. And
I'm gonna put you on the spot later. So
okay. So I've had 1,400 units in the past. Liquidated them, I guess, post-COVID, most of them. So
smart guy. You're gonna hear from him in a few minutes.
Joe Scarice, nationwide direct private lender, licensed real estate agent, podcaster, multifamily investor owner for the past 34 years.
Awesome.
Hi, Michelle and Ken Morrow here. We are mother and father of Matt. We are in
Here we go.
there you go. We gave him life. He's giving us the pleasure of us being here. Thank you for hosting this. But we are co-investors with him on a 5-unit piece of property. So good to be here.
She's the better half.
Yeah.
Hi, John Wargo,
Okay, good talk. Nope.
co-founder of Morrow Wargo Group along with Matt, real estate agent, also in Colorado, dual licensed. I started investing in 2003 and just have a passion for helping people looking to get started with their journey.
Cool. You guys, why not?
Hi, I'm Megan. I work for Matt at Roots Catering. I'm brand new to real estate, just kind of looking to familiarize myself with the world and make some business connections here today, hopefully.
Great.
Hello, everybody. My name is Sean Sims, same as Megan, new to this meeting and just excited to learn more about real estate.
Thank you. And you guys?
I'm Ashley. I actually work at Lehigh Valley Health Network. I'm a project director there. We're highly interested in multi-units and goal is to retire early and live in Hawaii.
Nice.
At what she said, and if you have any interest in special event venues and a business model behind that, we're definitely people to talk to in the Lehigh Valley.
Awesome. Now that I just did all that, can you guys actually see my computer screen? Everybody there? Ruth said yes. Oh, thanks, Ruth. Awesome. Cool. So again, we might be agents, we might be other investors, but investment real estate is about starting a business. If you're not going to make money and you're not going to do it as such, don't do it. If you buy an investment property that turns out to be a bad investment, who's done that? It sucks. This has to be a business, and it starts as a business from day one. Whether you've done a deal or have done 1,400 deals, starting off on the right foot is very, very important. So underwriting is what prevents you from losing yourself in this business. Run your numbers, stick to them, and do not get emotional about it. You make money when you buy real estate, not when you sell. So you got to buy at the right number and sell at whatever number you get, but you have to make your money when you buy. This is huge. This is huge. Write this down. If you learn one thing from tonight, if you buy real estate emotionally, you are a retail buyer. You're the one going to the Ford dealership and paying sticker price or more just to take the car home. Don't do it. You have to do this with your head and not with your heart. And if it doesn't prove itself to you on paper, it doesn't get purchased. So please, please, please don't do this. How often do we talk people out of deals? All the time. It's not worth getting into a bad deal. Here's what we're going to talk about tonight. We're going to review multifamily investments, the processes around them, benefits, clear understanding of what multifamily investing is. You're going to leave here with the knowledge and tools to analyze, acquire, and manage the properties and discuss strategies for scaling. Some of you have already learned how to scale. Some of you have scaled, sold off, and then you're starting again from the beginning. So we're going to learn from each other. You obviously want to invest. So here are the steps in order. You got to find your budget and financial ability. And I'm going to put a few guys on the spot tonight, including Ryan and Joe. If you don't have money or you don't have a lender willing to give you money, you can't buy real estate. The exceptions are seller finance, subject to, things like that. But we're not going to talk about those things tonight. You either have to have funds or you have to have someone with funds who's going to charge you interest or points or whatever. You have to know that before you get in. So please, please, please do yourself a favor. Talk to a lender before you get started. You specialize in the small properties. Joe specializes in everything that's not small, not normal. It has to be in your LLC name. It can't be in your personal name. He'll do anything from 1,000 units, $50 million deals. But commercial in the LLC's name. Ryan, if you want a house hack, Joe doesn't even want to talk to you. Seriously, he won't talk to you. It has to be different products. So make sure you know your lane that you're purchasing in. Next thing, realistic goals. If you have realistic goals, you can have realistic outcomes. If you're looking for a slam dunk every single time, you're going to be sad and it's not going to work. We have clients who look for those slam dunks, and it's pretty sad to see them just wait forever and ever. But they are doing what most investors should do and sticking to their numbers. So we're not annoyed by it. It's just part of it. You just have to know. Asset class is huge. Do you want a single family home? Do you want a multifamily home? Do you want a 100-unit building? Do you want a trailer park, campground? Figure it out. If you need to learn about those types, reference all of our past meetups. I gave you the links to them. Get online, go to Bigger Pockets, go to all these different places to learn about real estate investing. But you have to find your asset class. Find a market, build a team, evaluate the deals, and then you got to offer and execute. Once you do that, you got to get to work. That's when it all starts. Here's multifamily properties. Obviously, I hate to actually have to say this, but a multifamily property is anything with more than one unit. Okay? But just so we're all clear, that's a multifamily property. Yes, I know you can. Someone can fit 6 families in 1 unit. Tenants will try that, right? So small multifamily is 2 to 4 units. The nice thing about small multifamily is you can live in them. You could buy them with residential financing. They're very practical. Above 2 units, mid-size, 5 to 50. That's a huge range. 10-unit building is not mid-size to some. A 10 unit is huge to some people, but for our comparison today, 5 to 50 is mid-size, and large 50 plus. In this picture of Allentown, you have all three types in one picture. PP&L building, the tallest one here, is going to be converted to residential apartments soon. That's going to be a large investment. Next to it, you have several mid-size and a lot of single-family homes all right next door. Here's some advantages of multifamily properties. Economies of scale is huge. Everybody knows what economies of scale is. Back to high school, the more things you have, the easier it is to do things with. Obviously, the more problems you have now too. Easier financing with a little asterisk. The bigger the deal, the more interest the bank can charge, the easier you will find financing. If it's a good deal, people are going to bring you money faster than you can find deals. There's people out there who don't want to do the hard work of finding the deals. They just want to make the money, and they're willing to pay a percentage on that. If you have a 150 unit building and you call Joe and the numbers work, you'll get the financing. No question about it. You just got to find the building. More stable cash flow is a function of having more tenants. Not everybody's going to move out at once. If it's in Detroit, they might move out at once. But if it's here or anywhere else that there's increasing population, you have stability. There's always the asterisk there that says it might not be very stable. Okay, so you're going to have this with it. Less competition. You're going to have less competition with your investor partners, less competition in the market. You're going to compete against a different group of people when you're buying multifamily investments. It's a different caliber, except the 2 to 4 family. In the 2 to 4 family, residential buyers can buy these things with a regular home loan, and you're going to be competing against people who buy with their heart and not with their head. We lose deals all the time to people who offer stupid numbers on smaller homes, and it's just part of the deal. Tax advantages. Obviously, tax advantages, you have depreciation and 1031 exchange. We'll talk about that here in a little bit. And then the last one actually says resilience during economic times. You have more units, more things are covered, more income when times get tough. Here's some drawbacks. It's a lot to manage. If you have a 50 unit building, you're not going to be able to do it by yourself. You have to have some sort of management team. Whether it's you and a small team or you and a professional team, you have to have somebody doing this for you. Higher initial cost and cash required. You're going to need more cash to buy these deals. If you don't have them, you're not going to get them. More tenants equals more issues, equals more income. So it's a double-edged sword. And then regulatory challenges. You have zoning requirements, you have sprinkler systems, you have security systems, you have common areas, all these things with large buildings that you don't normally have in small buildings. Code enforcement is huge, especially if you're in the city of Easton. Who has a building in the city of Easton? Anybody? Somebody will soon. You're going to learn. It's going to be, yes, please, let's learn about it. We have a few interesting scenarios going on right now. They are taking the opportunity to fix everything with the property on sale. So when you have a client or you're as an investor buying one, guess what? City inspector is going to show up, knock on the door, and he's going to have a whole shit list of stuff for you to do. A whole list.
3 years ago,
Yep.
Totally changing the code from 3 years ago and making everybody redo what they've already had it changed.
City inspectors are just like home inspectors. They all have a different opinion, and we all know about opinions. So they, you got to do what they say. You can't fight City Hall with it. They literally will hold up your ability to rent the property. And obviously, maintenance costs. If you have a big property, it's going to be a lot to maintain. Sale is limited to other investors. So if you have other investors that you want to sell it to, you're not going to be able to just put it on the MLS and have some emotional home buyer pick it up. You're going to have your limited pool of other professional investors. Here's an example of 2 to 4 door multifamily. This is a building in Slatington that we help clients buy. They found us online. They wanted to get a really nice cash flowing property. We knew this thing was a gold mine the second it hit the market, and we over offered on it because it was just the right thing to do. And John's going to review this property with you before we end today, down to the numbers where we get everything and under evaluated. Small multifamily is usually 2 to 4 door homes, converted homes, single family homes to multi-units, or it's a 2-unit right from construction. These are perfect for house hacks. Neil, you mentioned you're house hacking right now. Anybody else house hack? House hack is when you live in an investment property, whether you're living there forever or you don't plan to live there forever. living in an investment property is great. That's why it's so competitive. Purchase price and rent expenses vary by market. So if you buy a home here or buy a home in New York City or Florida, the numbers all look different. So make sure you know what you're getting into. And they're easier to self-manage. When you're living in the building, we highly suggest the other person who's living in the building who's not you, you are the property manager. You are not the owner. And we can talk to you about how to get that dynamic going so that people don't initially assume you are the owner of the building. Okay, Richard, can you mute everybody on the call? 2 to 4 doors are eligible for residential financing. You could put 3.5% down. You can put 5% down conventional. You can actually live in these things with a traditional mortgage, but there's a lot of strings attached. So learn about those. Mid-size. Again, this is another 5-unit that's in town. If you like breakfast, visit the Bacon Strip. It's in Copley. Best breakfast around. This is one of our buildings. One of their buildings. It's fantastic. We have a lot of informal business meetings eating bacon. So these types of buildings are usually homes that were converted into something else. Multi-apartments. There's 5 units in this building and a restaurant on the first floor. They might be built to suit or 5 straight units, or they might be old converted homes where they segregated and put a bunch of units in there. The purchase price and rent varies by market. And again, this is not a legal thing, but anything over 4 units is going to be considered some sort of commercial property. 5 and above, commercial. It has to be a commercial loan. The banks are going to look at it completely different. Even if it's all apartments, a 5-unit apartment building is still a commercial property. So consider that when you're getting it. A residential live-in loan, you won't be able to get in on this. So before you start looking at this property, don't be surprised. 50+ doors. We talked about Detroit. This is Detroit. Okay. These are all residential buildings. All downtown. Looks pretty clean from this picture. Economies of scale allow cash flow and appreciation. These are typically managed by professionals or by an owner team. John, your portfolio, you guys self-managed everything, but you had a team of people managing. If you don't have a team and you're investing from New York or maybe from the West Coast, having a team here, let's say you bought one of these in Detroit or you bought something in Allentown, you're going to need a team here to manage because you're not going to want to deal with it. There's a lot of moving parts. That's a big expense and you want to know about that. 50+ doors require extensive underwriting and current values and future values. When you buy these properties, you're not looking at traditional just cash flow. You're looking at a lot of different metrics and you want to make sure you understand them before you get into them. Not all deals are created equal. So find one that fits your situation and don't jump in just because it's in front of you. Again, don't rush. This slide is on every single presentation we have, because if you buy a piece of real estate in a fast manner and don't physically underwrite it to the point where, not analysis paralysis, but if you get in because you need to get in, whatever happens, happens, guys. Just please make a smart decision. No deal is better than a bad deal. What are your goals? Do you want a house hack? Do you want to retire early, right? Everybody here wants to retire early. You want to work for yourself, be the man. Financial freedom through cash flow. You want to get a cash on cash return or a cap rate. We're going to explain these things in a minute. Most of you people understand what the basics are, but these are all goals. When we work with new clients and when agents work with new clients, this should be the first thing you ask. What are your goals? Not what's your budget, not what building do you want? What are your goals? First thing we talked about with you guys, what are your goals? And then we find a property that meets, because if it doesn't hit one of these things, it's not an investment. So everything on here is important. If you work with someone, if you're an agent, ask these questions first. If you're an investor working with agents, these better be the first questions you talk about. You got to find a market. Doing your research, look at census data, research trends, having the reason to be in this market. Right now, the Lehigh Valley area, Allentown, everything around here is one of the fastest growing metropolitan areas in the country. It's not on the maps. Buffalo's on the maps. Cleveland's on the maps. Austin's on the map. But the Lehigh Valley in Pennsylvania is the only area of Pennsylvania that has positive population growth. And that all comes from the US Census. Everything here, Allentown, Bethlehem, Easton, and like a 20-mile circle has positive population growth. Philadelphia, negative. Wilkes-Barre, negative. Pittsburgh, negative. If you're working with people who are investing money here, Sorry, I didn't mean to diss on Wilkes-Barre. I saw you go like this a little bit. I'm sorry, Scranton, the electric city, right? Okay. Cool. So I'm sorry, Wilkes-Barre and Scranton are not the same according to Ryan. So make sure the market is a place you want to have a reason to invest. That's not to say that Detroit doesn't offer great investment opportunities. That's not to say that Baltimore isn't selling homes for literally $1 to investors right now so that they rejuvenate the market. Okay, there are a lot of strings attached, but know where you're getting into. Market analysis is super important. These talk about housing. They talk about distressed listings, bedrooms versus home sales, size of home sales. You need to do some market research. An agent you work with should be able to do this for you. Otherwise, you could find this data pretty available on the internet. Look at the market. Emerging markets and areas with new job growth is very important. Infrastructure development and favorable government policies. When I say favorable government policies, I mean the majority of the people we work with are people who don't want to invest in New York City, don't want to invest in Philadelphia because of the government oversight. The taxes alone are not great for your cash flow, but the government oversight, right? I mean, I hear you laughing, right? This market can be tough if the government already does not want landlords to take advantage of a business. To them, they're protecting the people, they're protecting the voters, they're protecting whatever they have to protect. But for you as a business, you need to look at, is it worth investing in somewhere where you have virtually no traction in court if you have to go to court? Economic stats and charts, crime rates, quality of life, school grades, things like that. They all play into it. Again, I'm not an agent right now. I'm talking to you as an investor. You have to figure out where you want your buildings and your tenants to be coming from. This is your business. It's your income. As an agent, we cannot tell you what's a good area. We cannot say, oh, that's a great area. We can't say that school is good. You can lose your license and we can end up in ethics court for that. It's really, really bad. But I can say, John, would you walk your kids down that street at night? Well, John goes some pretty interesting places and doesn't really care. But for your investors, and as you investors, you might not know the area. You're relying on local people. So these charts will tell you that. If you're investing near your home, this is also important. Just because it's home doesn't mean it's a great business choice. I invested very, very heavily towards my previous home. Very heavily. And at some point, your tenants are going to see where you live. See if that's worth it to you. You don't know. So research your own market, even if you're investing in your home. Even more so if you're house hacking and you're not renting to your mother-in-law. It's important. Building a team. This is the next step. Once you find a market, you got to build a team. If you're having a partner, co-investor, spouse, all these people need to be part of this conversation. And if they're not, you need to pause, go back to the beginning and think about your business. If you buy a piece of real estate with a partner, your partner, whether you're married or not. And it's harder to get out of a mortgage with someone than it is to get out of a marriage, right? You're locked in 30 years. Can't just go to the courthouse and get it annulled. You're stuck. So make sure you know who you're getting into business with. You got to find a lender. You got to find an agent, contractor, property manager, accountant or CPA, an attorney. All these people are people that you have to have engaged to start a business. You might not need all of them in the beginning, but you're going to need them. And then other people as needed. This is a class we held back in May. It's on YouTube. Do you need an agent? Do you don't need an agent? Seller financing. Lots of good things that we talked about that night. But it really goes down to talking about whoever you're working with, agents, property managers, attorneys, find someone who's able to talk on your level, whatever level it is, and have a straight conversation about investment real estate. Everybody in here has probably talked to a real estate agent or an attorney or someone who didn't really understand from their approach. Being here is the first thing you want to learn about these things, okay? Financing considerations. These are huge, and this is where I'm going to jump on Joe and Ryan here for a second. When you buy a piece of real estate, it has to be with cash or with leverage. Leverage is a loan, any sort of loan, whether it be private loans from your family, a private loan from someone who just knows you trying to help you out, or a bank. It can be anything. It could also be the seller giving you a loan to buy it, seller finance. You have to buy with some sort of leverage, or you need the cash to buy it. Know the lender and their capabilities and their fees. It's okay to shop around, but don't be that guy who bounce. You have a reputation in this business, and it's very small. So loyalty is huge, but ask the right questions so you don't have to bounce around, right? Don't get a quote from someone and then go to 3 other guys and get a quote, or you're never going to hear from any of them. Everybody knows each other in this business. You have different products for different asset classes. So, Joe, can you tell me the stuff that you do? What can you do that Ryan can't?
Well, I don't look at tax returns, pay stubs, W-2s, 1099s. I strictly look at the asset. Rates are relevant to traditional lending. On the fixed rate, fixed flip side is relevant, or actually better than our money, because we're hedge fund lending. Difference between us and maybe like a broker or correspondent environment. We're flat fee based. We're not origination based, which is perfect fee. Close the loan. Underwriting fee and legal fee are the same, both on hard money or traditional lending. And we go up to 25 units on debt service coverage ratio, with 80% on single family and 4 family, 75% from 5 to 25 up to 3 million. Of 3 million, we go 80% of it's whole different type of loan agency money. And we can do that either fixed or rentals. But new construction, we're stuck at single family through 4 family right now. On the multifamily side, stay away from the commercial presence to a unit right now. Everybody's kind of getting away from it. They want just all residential. There's only so many nail salons, so many dispensaries. You know, it's like spaces. So it's just a fact. I mean, so you got to be very cautious. You look at the great deals with 2 storefronts or 1 storefront. The exit line is a little more area. It's difficult to get 30 units money in the back end, or even 5 or 10 year money in the back end of the 30-year area.
So Joe is more non-traditional style lending, things that are in need of something. Burr, value add, huge. Okay. Ryan, your difference from Joe.
It's like 80% of what we do is your primary, secondary investment property, 1 to 4 unit. But we can also do debt service coverage ratio only up to 8. So in LLCs, or we can do some non-QM stuff like, bank statement loans. If you're it's big on contractors, but they usually like to write off all their revenue. So they're hard to qualify. So we do bank statement loans where if your tax returns don't look great, qualify out deposits. There's a lot of unique things coming out these days, which are great. So really anything 1 to 4 unit, we can help you 99% of the time. And then we can do else, so it doesn't necessarily matter what your plans are with those sorts of properties. But we're not going to touch any. We can do some renovation stuff. We can do some fix and flip stuff, but we're not going to touch a 25 unit program.
Awesome. So we mentioned a little bit of difference. Some lenders will only touch an LLC. Some lenders will only lend in a personal name. Big thing, talk to these guys before you get into it. And if you need connection with the lenders, we'll put you in touch with the people that are looking at your goals. Not who our friends are, but what are your goals? And know the limitations before you get it. Hello. Finding deals. This is another class we did. This was in March. This was a great class. Everybody who's here at this event, did you guys come? Yeah, there was quite a bit of people there. We talked about 7 different ways to find deals: door knocking, cold calling, all these different things, and how to do it. Go back and watch the video, and finding the deal is important. These are the ways you could find the deal. MLS usually comes with an agent or someone who can find it for you. This relies on them to send you the right information. A lot of the investors that we work with don't want to be on just a drip because it's not personal. It's not, hey, John, here's a property that matches your criteria. Talk to your agent if you're working with one, figure out if they can just customize these searches for you so you don't have to have a blanket out to everybody. LoopNet and Crexi is where you find commercial properties. These are great resources, but anything on these comes with a lot of zeros and a lot of digits. So if you're on LoopNet and Crexi, you're probably in the next level. Investment properties that you don't find on the MLS usually show up here: warehouses, apartment buildings, things like that. Sphere of influence and off market are the best deals that you could find. If you know someone who's selling a piece of real estate, you have a leg up on literally everyone because no one else knows about it. Even if you can get a piece of it by getting in on the deal before everyone else, that's huge. And right now, the best deals are ones nobody knows about. It's true. So, evaluating. We talked about underwriting and the importance of underwriting. It's so, so important. You make the money when you buy the property, not when you sell it, and don't buy the bad deal. It's okay to ask for help. If you need help in this, please call people who have more experience. We call for help all the time. We don't know it all, and we never will. We call people to ask questions, especially if you get into asset classes and scenarios that you don't know a lot about, right? If you want to know about short-term rentals, call Ryan. If you want to know about taking old motels and converting them to Section 8 housing, call Joe, right? That's cool stuff. We don't know how to do that, right? Everybody has different asset classes, so figure it out. And it's okay to ask for help. Better safe than sorry for 30 years in debt. 20, 25, or maybe less for commercial. 30-year mortgage doesn't really exist in all asset classes. You can't finance a big building for that long. And you can't finance a big building for fixed rate interest. Any commercial line, if lended traditionally, is going to be variable interest. So keep that in mind. Due diligence. This is a shout out to our boy, Mike Supp from ROI Home Inspections. He did a hell of a class for us in December. We did a live home inspection at a listing in Kutztown. He did the whole house from top to bottom. It was a really, really cool class. If you need a home inspector, he's great. He's local. He can do everything from top to bottom. Due diligence is super critical. Everything in multifamily is due diligence. It's not just reviewing numbers and leases. It's making sure the property is not going to fall apart. And if it is, don't run away. Find a way to fix it. Create value where someone else won't. Use a checklist that includes property inspection, financial records, lease agreements, and zoning. This isn't everything, but you want to make sure you cover at least these things. Due diligence is critical for identifying potential issues, and skipping it can be very costly. Can you tell I like AI? You tell this thing to write the weirdest things, and it pumps out an image exactly what you're talking about. Some of them are very creepy. So if you use ChatGPT, prepare yourself. The tools. The spreadsheet is very important. And for those of us that have an infatuation with Microsoft Excel, it's good. You can sit here and do anything in Excel. There are programs, there's everything here. This spreadsheet will do everything for you that you can think of. And if you can't pencil out a deal, and we're talking even up to a 20 unit, 50 unit, whatever, in under 3 minutes, it's not worth going past that. So if you have income minus vacancy, minus expenses, minus your loan, whatever the end piece is, that is where you make your money. So if you can't do that in just a few minutes, hey guys, can you, there's a sign-in sheet in the back if you wouldn't mind signing in. Thank you. 3 minutes to underwrite a deal. If it passes that sniff check in 3 minutes, it's worth diving into more. And if it passes that, then it's worth maybe talking to the agent. If it passes that, then maybe it's worth scheduling a showing. But how many deals, John, how many deals do you underwrite?
We have
100 before you get one. Okay. John's one that looks for a very specific property type and a very specific return. And that's okay, because when he finds them, they're damn good deals. Okay. Gathering listing information from the agent, if it's there, or public records, is very, very important. Review the disclosures if they're online. Some properties don't have disclosures. Maybe there are estate sales, things like that. And when you get into the bigger real estate properties, there are not many that have a seller's disclosure. It's a commercial property information sheet or things like that. You might not have it at all. Verify the income and expenses. So if you have a profit and loss statement for this building, that's huge. But remember, the profit and loss is for that owner for that time period. It's not for you. For your time period, it's for that owner. So if you were trying to sell a house that makes money, you have 2 sets of books, right? You have one that actually happened, and you have another that you're trying to sell. So we have to find the expenses that don't exist and figure out why. Verify the profit and loss. And if they can't find it, you can get pretty close to seeing what these expenses would be based on your experience. And when you're buying a property, you're always buying it under its current value. It doesn't matter what it could be worth 5 years from now. It matters what it is today. What can it prove itself to be? And what is an appraiser going to think it's worth? Because that's what matters. What does the bank say it's worth, or what do your private investors say this thing is worth? This is where you make your money when you buy. So if you know there's a 4-unit right down the street from your house that's worth a whole lot more money than the seller's willing to sell it for, you know what you can get it for. You know how much work it needs to be to get it up to par, and then what it's worth at the end. That is what you strive for, but you only know what it's worth now. You're going to evaluate the property, not on the purchase price. There's lots of financial aspects that get into play. You have closing costs, fees for the agents if you're working with an agent, legal fees, transfer taxes. All these things are going to be part of your sale process. The taxes, HOA fees, if you have properties that are in some sort of community. Those are very, very important. And it's just like lot fee and trailer parks. They don't ever come back to you. An HOA and a fee is just money you give to somebody else. So it might not be a good investment on paper if once you include those. Cash flow projections, ROI calculations, we're all investors. So when you put $50,000 into this building, $50,000 has to make you certain return. Otherwise, you just take $50,000 and put it in the market, or put it in stocks, or put it in gold or Bitcoin or whatever else you like to invest in. But if you don't make a certain percentage on this money, you're not investing. Some people don't need cash right away. They can take it in the form of appreciation over time, but you need to make sure that it's actually going to get your return here. And if you can't figure out those things before you do it, don't buy the deal. This spreadsheet that we're going to use there later and now, if you scan that code, it should work. I don't know if this thing will block it, but it'll bring you right to our website. You download the actual Excel file if you'd like it. I'll leave it up here for about 10 seconds if you want it. If you're an investor and already have a spreadsheet, feel free to use it. Once you plug that, it's going to come up with a little disclaimer that says, once you change the formulas, we're not liable for it. So this is basic. 1 through 7, maybe 10 units. It'll get you there. Download it onto your phone. It's on our website. You can find these things all over the place, but we customize and update this all the time. Everybody get it? Okay. This is huge. Leases are your income. When you're buying a piece of real estate, the only way you can prove its income, just like when you're buying a business, is the leases that it produces. Anything you can prove is what the property's worth. Every single lease needs to come to you. You need to read it, or have your agents or have your attorneys or whoever read the leases, because that's the only way you can prove what this building's worth. Get copies of the lease. And if you can't get copies of the lease, make sure that you get copies of the lease subject to review in your agreement of sale when you buy the property. So if there's people living there already paying rent, you don't offer on that thing unless you have the leases, or in your contract it covers you to get the leases. Tenants in place cannot be legally replaced that already have a lease. So if you buy a 3-unit and you want to live in one of the 3 units and all of them have a year to go on their lease, can't do it, with a very small few exceptions. Same thing if you're buying a 20-unit and there's all these 20 leases, they're going to be scattered. Security deposits, there's going to be scattered rent payments. There's going to be this huge book of stuff you're going to have to go through to figure it out. And that's what you have a team of people to help you with. You can't replace a tenant until their lease ends. And you might not want to replace a tenant because having vacancy in 1 unit for 1 month is an entire year's worth of cash flow for that unit. So is it really worth to replace the tenant? In some cases, it is. In other cases, it's not. So your deal is going to be specific. All income and lease terms have to be verified in writing, because anything that exists, we have a deal right now that's happening that there is a lease on the property, and the lease is not a great lease. The value is very, very low. The property should be getting more than it is, but it doesn't matter because the lease has 10 years to go. The new buyer is not very happy with that. Unfortunately, we can't change it. He can't change it. And it is what it is. So you either take it or leave it. Ashley. Yes. Cash for keys is a great example. Cash for keys, if you haven't heard of this, is an example of if you have a tenant in place that might want to leave, or you might want to leave, you can do what's called cash for keys. Essentially, again, not an agent, bribery in real estate.
you can go to this person and say, hey guys, we're going to be changing our use with the property. We're not going to renew your lease at the end of the term, just a heads up. But if you move in the next 60 days and you leave this place better than you found it, you will get your security deposit back and you're going to get $500 cash. Off the record, it is what it is. Sometimes you might have to bribe more than that. But if you're going to buy a building that needs to be completely renovated and it has to be vacant when it's there, you're changing electrical, HVAC, it is worth you to pay or cash for keys people out. Most people will do this, but if they're getting a killer deal on their rent now, they're unlikely going to find a place quickly that they can afford. So just keep that in mind. It is very, very worth having that conversation with people, and a lot of tenants will at least consider it. Thank you for reminding me. That's good. Expenses. Having a profit and loss statement is extremely important, even if it's just handwritten from somebody. This is from one of our 5 units. Profit and loss from the different buildings, expenses, where it goes. You have to be able to produce something like this or have something given to you if you're going to buy a property. It's a business. The income is your income and your expenses are what they are. Prove it. Make the seller prove it to you. And if they can't, that's fine. That's when you have to talk to people that have some experience to figure out close to what they'd be.
You go to sell. You have decency now.
Exactly. Yep. Record your expenses very accurately. If you have to pay a CPA or a bookkeeper to do it, do it. It's worth it because you're going to have to be able to prove the value. Otherwise, whoever buys your property isn't going to give you the right price. So it kind of goes both ways. You're going to inherit these expenses. Verify them. Some items you could do to help reduce expenses. If there's one electrical meter for the whole house, split it. It'll be a few $1,000s now to not have to pay electricity again. It's worth it. When you do the walkthrough, figure all these things out. If a combined system of heat or things like that, the owner pays the heat, figure out a way to not pay the heat anymore. So you pay $20,000 up front. It sucks for a little bit, but then you don't have to pay for oil or natural gas, things like this. John. Yes.
We were looking at building, when I moved to Goodrich, converting it to all electric heat. And we were actually netting $400 per unit on 100 units. So we're getting, it went from a negative 60,000 to a positive 400,000 just by separating the heat, the electricity and heat.
That's huge. If you can get heat out of natural gas and oil, not only do you reduce the risk of fire, you reduce the risk of cleaning boilers and things like that, but electricity can go back to the tenant's electrical bill, not yours. So that's a great example. John had a unit. He took from a, how much loss to a profit?
$400,000.
$60,000 loss to a $500,000 profit.
You know, it was fine. We had no problem with the tenants.
That's great. Similar subject, water, sewer. Most places don't have sub-metered sewer, but the sewer is billed based off of the water consumption. So if you get sub-metered water, you have to be able to prove how much they use, but you can then not pay for it. Joe.
It's the 1 to 3 from 5 to 25. I get for fact. 1 to 4 is very close on the per square foot of the inside and outside the building. On the multifamily 5 to 25, it's more by the door and how much you're going to put in for a building, not overall by the per square footage. So like on the 25 unit conversions that I'm involved with right now, I'm putting in anywhere between $15,000 and $19,000 per unit. Okay, I'm not looking at it per square foot of 25 units. That it wouldn't make sense. Where on 1 to 4, we really need to look at the renovation costs. You know, whether it's if it's listed at a pig or full depth and studs, there's somewhere between $100 and $200 a square foot. Single family, 4 family average home is 1,200 square feet to 1,400 square feet. If you're looking at it, and then you also have to look at the finishes, and that's where your variable is. You gotta look at the relevant finishes in the surrounding market, whether it's Section 8 or market.
That's good. So make sure you know what you're renovating. A single family home is different than a 20 family building. And if you're renovating your own personal home,
You do it to a completely different level than if you were renovate apartments down the street. There's two different levels. Do you want the rental grade or do you want this is my house grade? Do you want the landlord special or do you want the nice stuff? Two different contractors, two different prices. So think about it. Thank you for the input, guys. It's good. Property management is an expense that is going to vary with property or with your style. You might not have an expense for property management, but it also might be different from town to town or city to city. They might not have it as an expense to the owner currently, and it won't be on their books if they don't do it. If you are going to remotely invest, make sure you account for that. And do not assume your expenses are going to be the same as the people who are there. John, yeah.
You should always include the management fee, because management fee, if you're gonna manage it yourself, you still have to include your time. So if you're going to manage it yourself, like a lot of times they won't put the feel out, I manage it myself. But as the buyer, you should figure that in because you want to make sure that you're covered also. I always put a management fee in there regardless. And I've always done it since day one.
That's good.
5% of your self-management, and then use 10% always
Minimum.
for if you're having somebody else done. Got to pay it.
Yes.
So guys on the call, we have two very, very experienced investors in the back talking about property management. So I hope you can hear them. If not, I'll try and turn it a little bit.
With the populace, we want to help you one day. You know, expect to go on your management, have a health challenge, and now you have to pay somebody that you don't want to get.
Yeah, great point. That's huge. A lot of generational landlords are doing that. That's all they do. They quit their job to manage their properties. But then when they can't manage their properties anymore, it's not so glorious, right? You can't do it. Checking for discrepancies on expenses you're given. Why did the seller not have any expenses in a building for a year? It's bullshit. It absolutely is. They have expenses. You got to find what they are and straight up ask them. We don't have a problem with it. What expenses did you forget to put on here? Oh, well, we did this, and this. No, you didn't answer the question. It shows the building and its health. If you have a completely renovated building, that's fine. You're probably not going to have any maintenance calls, but you still could. You want to know what the health of the building is. Disclosure discrepancies. If you have a discrepancy on a seller's property disclosure that says, yes, they have a well, but you know it's on public sewer, and public water, you might start asking questions as to whether the rest of the document is wrong. So figure it out. Month-to-month leases are a great opportunity and they're a great liability. Month-to-month lease when someone's selling the property is tactical because they want you to have flexibility when you buy. Do you want to keep the tenant? Do you want to replace the tenant? Do you want to move in? What do you want to do? But to a tenant who's living there, a month-to-month lease is the scariest thing in the world if they don't want to leave. They could look at the 50% rent increase. They could look at a rent decrease depending on what you're trying to do. So month-to-month leases offer you some flexibility and the tenant's flexibility, but you have to be on the same page with this. Here's something that we want to talk about for about 3 seconds. Cap rate is an important number. I'm not going to get into it, but if you want to read this, we see a lot of people advertising single family homes, 2-family, 3-family homes with cap rate. The cap rate or the capitalization rate is a metric designed to be able to compare two completely different investments as if they were the same. Okay. We're not going to dive into this, but when you get into bigger commercial real estate, cap rate is almost exclusively what they're valued at. But in smaller residential, don't talk about cap rate because it doesn't really matter. Okay. And there's a reason I'm saying that. Don't hound me on it. I'm sure you guys, you have your reasons that you calculate cap rate for different things. But for us, small multifamily, cap rate is a worst way to compare properties. Net operating income is your operating income after expenses divided by the purchase price times 100. I'm not trying to put you on the spot for math, but that gives you usually a single or maybe small 2-digit number. The higher the number, the better the value when you buy. The lower the number, the more expensive the property. So you want to buy at a high cap rate and sell at a low cap rate. But again, we'll get into that in a different meeting. Negotiating.
If you're negotiating, I love this AI picture, by the way. Very serious, right? Negotiating should be fun. It shouldn't be like this. It shouldn't be getting all posturing. You're trying to solve somebody's problem. They want to sell a property. You want to buy a property. Great. Don't get all stressed out about it. Again, this is a business transaction, so don't sweat it. You're trying to solve somebody's problem. Sensitivity and compassion. I'm not trying to be a softie here, but you will get a lot further in this business by going after something nice and calm versus ramming it down somebody's throat. They don't have to sell you their property. You might as well try and be their friend. Okay. Use market data to understand the seller's motivation. If you can get FaceTime with these people, great. If you're the only person they're talking with, even better, because now you have some more leverage that other buyers don't have. But as soon as there's other parties in the mix, now all of a sudden you don't know what they're talking about, who they're talking to. This is the advantage you have when you find the deal yourself. When you have a property you find on the MLS or with an agent or through a wholesaler, you don't have this. You just don't. You're dealing with another party and who have other buyers. If you send a postcard and they call you and you sit in their living room, you have a huge advantage. Huge. Be a decent person. Okay? Don't be crazy. Discuss creative financing terms. You might as well ask, hey, are you interested in seller financing this? I see you don't have a mortgage on it. Would you be willing to be the bank for a few years so I don't have to go get a mortgage? You might be surprised. There are some clients that we work with, that's all they ask. Will you seller finance this? No, they have a FHA mortgage. There's no way they're going to seller finance. So know your seller. Do the research before you get there. Check the public records. And be prepared and flexible. You have to be flexible. If you're not flexible, you're not going to get anywhere. Tax considerations. Depreciation. Again, I'm not an accountant, but when you buy real estate, something really cool happens with your taxes. You owe less of them, right? Which makes your income seem higher, which makes you owe more taxes, which makes you buy more real estate. It's a cycle, okay? So when you buy real estate, there are certain tax benefits like depreciation. Cost segregation is when you open up the building and you literally cut pieces from it. That drywall and that roof last a different amount of years, so you can write them off in a different time zone. Or that electrical system, whatever happens to be, that HVAC system, and you can write it off in different times. Depending on what your goal is, you might want to talk to your accountant about depreciating the property in way. I apologize. There we go. Sorry about that. Other tax considerations, mortgage interest. When you pay somebody interest, you get to write that off. Don't do what everyone else does. Oh, I bought that pickup truck because I needed the deduction. That's stupid. You're not doing right for your business. You only want to deduct things that are necessary to deduct for you to make more money and invest. So when you're writing off mortgage interest, it's because you had to get a mortgage, not because you wanted another write-off. A write-off doesn't equal income. A write-off equals less taxes. So think about that. Capital gains is huge. When you sell something that made money, you have to pay profit on it. Whether you're flipping properties, whether you're selling an income-producing property, you're going to have to pay capital gains tax. Make sure your co-investors, your partners, your clients know about capital gains tax. Not that you teach them about it. Tell them to talk to their accountant. But when you sell this building that's been making you money every month, you're going to pay the government cash when you go to sell it, unless you do what's called a tax-deferred exchange or a 1031 exchange, which allows you to offset and push forward into the future the tax that you'd pay. Who's done a 1031 exchange in the room? You guys have had experience with it. Awesome. Would you rather pay Uncle Sam 30%, or would you rather buy twice as many units and not have a penny out of pocket?
Right.
It's not comparable. Yeah. And what you do is you just take the taxes that you'd pay on that building and you roll it into the next bigger building. Equal of higher value it has to be. Joe.
If you're selling your property to 31,
Mhm.
whatever entity you're selling that owns, or to your personal name, to go the same exact circumstance and title on the next one. So in Joseph E. Charisse, it's got to be Joseph E. Charisse. If it's an LLC, it's got to be that LLC. You can't switch anything during that process. I know that very.
Yep. So when you 1031 exchange, you're basically passing off your taxes to the next section of time. You're selling this building, but you're rolling the profits immediately into the next building, which is equal or higher value. Then you're selling that 4 unit for a 15 unit. And then you're selling that 15 unit for a 50 unit. At some point, you're going to run out of shit to buy. You could sell that 15 unit for 15 single family homes, equal or higher value. That will allow you to then liquidate things easier, paying capital gains on each. But as Joe mentioned, they all have to be into the same exact name, LLC or corporation, personal name, whatever it happens to be. 1031 exchanges are hugely powerful in this business. And when you get to the point where you've 1031 your way to the top of the ladder and you die, everything's wiped clean. Your estate doesn't know anything on it because it's written into the 1031 section of the tax code. And that's where that number comes from, section 1031. You want to fall asleep? Go read that along with your mortgage documents. Insurance considerations. This one is what we with mixed use properties are feeling really, really tough right now. Insurance is changing rapidly. Every time there's a claim, every time there's a hurricane, every time there's an earthquake, this changes and it doesn't ever go down. Okay. The only way your insurance goes down is as you get claim free and as you reduce your coverages or as you increase your deductible. Insurance companies are there to make money. They're not there to be your friends, just like banks. Sorry, guys, but you make money when people spend money. So make sure you know how much insurance is going to cost. Quotes for the insurance on the buildings that we have has been anywhere from $1,000 to $1,500 a door per year. So if you have a 3-unit mixed use, you could be looking at, significant insurance cost every month. Whereas if you have a residential single family home, it could be $800 a year. So make sure you know about insurance beforehand. Get quotes from your insurance providers. If you have clients or you have investor partners, you're looking into insurance yourself, talk to a few different brokers. You definitely do get volume discounts when you go into insurance. And then the types of tenants, mixed use commercial, it can definitely change the cost. I'm going to start skipping through these kind of quick so that we can get to evaluations. Legal and regulatory, landlord tenant law. Know the law where you are investing. If you're in Pennsylvania, know it here. If you're in New York, you better know it really well because if you need it, you're not going to have much help. Zoning and building rules, wherever you buy the building, know the rules of the town. Talk to the local people, figure out what you can and cannot do. Anytime you touch a hammer or anything that requires a permit, be prepared to explain it all away if they come knocking on your door. We have a client going through hell right now because they tried to do some things that they wanted to do, but the inspector said was over the top. Compliance with fair housing and ADA requirements. That's self-explanatory. Do not get into this business if you're not going to be a good investor and a good steward of people. So treat people well, make sure that you can actually be a good investor. Management and peace of mind. The reason for a property manager is for peace of mind. Self-managing small units is easy. You got to hire the right property manager, just like you got to have the right partner, the right spouse, the right agent, hire the right one. Work with somebody who shares the values in the same industry and interview several candidates. Fees vary. Joe mentioned 5% always for self-management, 10% minimum for any property management companies are good numbers to go by. There are some that are higher, lower, in between, and they give you peace of mind. Downturns, we don't have to talk about this very much. It's changing, right? The landscape is changing. You have to keep strong with your tenants. You can't have that screw the tenant mentality. You just can't. They are your customer. And if they leave, you got to find another one. And if the line of people stops, you're not going to get paid and it's not an investment. So treat people the way you'd want to be treated and have provisions in place. Optimize operational efficiency, be prepared for the market fluctuations and always have a contingency plan or an exit plan. You should not buy a piece of real estate without having a way to get out of it. Here's a new AI one for you, Ryan. There you go. Tenant relations, you're going to have vacancy. You got to communicate clearly. Always enforce lease terms. Don't be that guy to be like, oh, let's let peace slide. Don't be that guy. Because as soon as you do it once, you're going to have trouble in court. If they're late once, file the paperwork. You just have to do it. You can't be that guy. How many evictions have you done, John? Hundreds? Go learn from him on what works and what doesn't work.
Without minutes.
Yeah.
Good. You gotta start the process. Excellent customer service and minimize vacancy. Keep the prices competitive, marketing, and keep the property looking good. Here's how you scale responsibly. This is really easy. This is kind of the highlight of the class. What's realistic for you? Scaling responsibly is different for everybody. Strategic planning, leverage, and refinancing. If you're going to take equity out of one property and put it into another, do it with caution. Please do it with caution. Risk management and disciplined growth. Here's some common mistakes. Underestimating expenses, always round high, neglecting due diligence, over leveraging. Don't get yourself into a position where you're 10% in this property, 20% in this property, 10% in that. FHA buyers are over leveraging just by being FHA buyers. If the market corrects 3 or 5%, you're already underwater. So when you buy a piece of real estate, you must plan on being in it for X many years, whatever your plan is. Flip, 6 to 12 months. Anything else? Buy and hold. Plan it for 3 to 5 years minimum. You got to wait for the wave and ride it out. Not having contingency plan is bad, and please be prepared for whatever's coming forward. And you can't prepare for everything. When things go wrong, yes, that is our fire company. Yes, that is my building. Yes, those are our fire trucks. Yes, I brought pizza. Shit's gonna happen. You're gonna have problems, and it has to be okay with you. And if it scares you, good. Don't stop, but treat people well, stay calm. Just do these 3 things. Always engage your legal team. All right, John, you're on the spot.
So you said that deals. My first investment property was a 6-unit, was a 5-bedroom colonial in the front, 4 apartments in the back, and a beauty salon. It was all like, it was a big property. I literally did it on a bar napkin at PJ Whalehands, right down the road here. We were living in a little house, didn't have Matt's spreadsheets at that time because he was only like 12 years old. But so when we get into looking at a deal, when somebody comes to us, either find something, we find something off market. There's a couple pieces that we do, and I picked 2 of these. Both of these are actual examples of deals that we did. The first one was actually 1 year ago. We did the closing 1 year ago. This came up. Come on. This came up on the MLS. And this is how we typically go through our evaluations. And our clients get this spreadsheet, but this is what you should be looking at. On the MLS, a 2-unit, 3-bedroom, and a 4-bedroom for $225. Red flags going up everywhere. Why is this so cheap? Came down to the bottom, $1,350 and $1,350 for the rents. Again, this is scary. How bad are these units? So the next thing we look at is the tax. Come on. Is the tax record. A couple things we verify, make sure that it is, as the MLS said, it was a converted to 2-unit. We make sure that it is. You don't want to be buying a single family and find out the guy cut it into 2 units without taking out any permits and you're tearing walls out. We verify the taxes. And then lastly, we come right down and look at the FEMA flood zone. Minimal is the lowest there is. If you get into moderate and high, you could be talking anywhere from $3,000 to $6,000 extra just for flood insurance. Then we get into the actual evaluation. And if you have this, as Matt said, you either check it on our website. Okay. So everything in yellow is fixed. You either have your rents or your expenses. They were asking 225. We factored in 20% down at 7.25% interest. The rents as they exist. We got down to the expenses and we saw that this guy was paying $4,100 a month, a year for oil. Again, one sure more red flags, right? How's this thing even making money? Their water and sewer, $139 a month that the owner was paying. These are all owner paid. So when you get down to the bottom, we're looking at overall cash flow is 193. However, when you factor out your building reserves, repairs and maintenance, and everything you should be holding back as a business person, you're negative 211. And there's another page to this, and I don't see it anywhere. That's per month. So let me just do this. He has it as a. There is.
There's a tab that says future. It's down at the bottom. Down at the bottom,
not
right
on.
next to current.
Yeah, it's not on this screen. I can't get rid of this. I can't go to the future tab.
Oh, hang on a second. Get that. Getting this thing out of the way.
I can just change the numbers.
Yeah.
There it is. Yeah, sorry about that. I couldn't see the tabs even though they were there. So in the future tab, finally, what we did is we go through and we put then what it could look like. So we upped the rents to 1,800 and 1,900 for the 3 and 4 bedroom. We did an actual walkthrough of this place, and it needed about $2,500 of inside work. We took the water line and sub-metered it so that when you come over here, the water and sewer are now 0. Our client was looking at the oil furnace, which was actually leaking oil. They were collecting it. I don't know what they were doing with it, but he wanted to put in 2 high efficiency gas units with the built-in water heaters, $8,000 a piece. So that brought it to $20,000. When he got rid of the oil and the water, this thing is now cash flowing almost $1,400 a month. And after the holdback, 832. Now, this couple's goal was to take to have this property for their 10-year-old son, that in 8 years he would be able to have this kid's entire college education funded solely by this property. Also has 2 other kids. I think they were like 5 and 2. So he has a little bit more time, but he's planning on doing the exact same thing. The next property is a little bit bigger. Okay, this is a 5 unit that was in Allentown that Matt and I actually looked at. $750 for the 5 units. And they were all occupied. But there were some value adds that could have been done here. Some of these rents were a little bit low. On the current. So here's our They were asking 750. We were thinking more 710. With all the rents in here, all the expenses, your taxes, your insurance, it was coming down to $193 net. Going over the future, we made the rents what they should be. And oftentimes, especially in this area, the Section 8 housing allowances are good. And a lot of the landlords will base theirs on what the Section 8 is, knowing that they could get a little more, a little less. So we adjusted these appropriately at 75% LTV on a $710,000 purchase. This is now producing 863 net cash flow per month. So again, two really good, I'll say slam dunks. The first one offered at 225. We ran the numbers. It was cash flowing up to 375. We put it under contract for 250. Bank came out, did the appraisal, and appraised at 319. So when Matt said, be patient and wait for the right deal to come, it'll come. You just have to, again, you have to be patient. You have to look for the diamonds. And when they do show up, act quick. There were two other people interested in this property that passed on it because they saw that the furnace had to be replaced. There was possibly some work that had to be done. The inside work totaled $2,500. I mean, it was floor, some paint. It wasn't bad at all. Any questions on the evaluation?
Let's get the price of the oil. So it was 4,100. Where do you get that information?
So on the MLS, when they're doing when the listing agent is putting the MLS together, there's some key components that they do include. Here. So under the financials, heat was 4,092, water and sewer was 1,679, insurance was 1,320. Now again, the insurance is what the insurance is. You have to get your own quote. It'll probably be higher because every time they quote it, it goes up. But you get that off there. If it's not, a lot of times it's not listed there. You ask for it. Yep.
So the goal of those two is to make sure that they can be cash flow positive.
Exactly.
Real interest was long-term appreciation.
Well, if you're looking at a property in the neighbor, again, it comes to history, trends, and what the neighborhood's doing. We have people who don't care if it cash flows at all, but they know the neighborhood. South Bethlehem. Somebody who bought a property in South Bethlehem 20 years ago and it cash flowed zero for 20 years is a millionaire. Exactly. You need to know the neighborhoods. You need to have trusted agents that know the neighborhoods. Again, kind of departing from this, but there's areas where Matt and I will defer to a different agent from a different brokerage because she knows that area that well. And it's more important for us to get our clients matched up with the right people.
So, do you have the first half on some degree? Do you have a capacity?
We do. There's another app that we use. It's a subscription-based analytics app called DealCheck. We run every deal that we run. If Matt and I are buying a place together, we look at the MLS, the tax record, the bar napkin, DealCheck, and the seller's property disclosure. That bundle gives you such a clear picture of the property that you're looking at, and that will run cash on cash returns. The one that I showed you, that 2-unit that we adjusted from 1350 to 18 and 19 had a cash on cash return of 9.4 year one, running up to 25 by year 30. Yeah. So, any other questions? And Matt wasn't joking about sending me into neighborhoods that were, last year he sent me to a place on 8th Street where I was met at the door with a gun barrel. Because the tenant didn't know that that there was somebody coming. Yes. Yeah. Yes, the cash on that one was around 5%. Yep. So cash on cash return, cash flow, and cap rate. Three legs of a stool. Which one is more important? It all depends on the client's risk tolerance. If I need cash, it's cash flow. If I'm looking for appreciation, then you're looking at your cap rates. If you're looking at the cash on cash return. So perfect example. I had a guy who said, I don't care what the cap rate is. If it's cash flowing, that's what's important to me. So again, doesn't care at all.
With the 5-unit, $750,000 on Turner Street, the client actually purchased that for a 1031 exchange to not pay taxes. It was a family trust.
Yeah.
And he was going to lose $150,000 to the government unless he bought this thing. Now, that was just one of 3 of the deals that he had to identify to meet the criteria for a 1030. But that deal, he was okay not having great cash on cash return, because if he didn't, Uncle Sam was going to get 100% cash on cash.
Right.
So everything's relative. So every deal is relative.
And you have to know what your goal is, as Matt said early on in the presentation.
And that was going to be one of Bob's first deals with the team. Oh, shit. Oh, the nice one. Yeah. Yeah.
Any other questions? Keep going.
Well, how are we on time? Oh, we should probably stop.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right. This is another thing that we always talk about on every call. This was over a year ago. This was a meetup that we did, Real Estate Publications. Go online, find this episode, watch it. We dive into each of these books. We get nothing from advertising, by the way. These are just good books that we found are very effective. Tax-free wealth, they're going to avoid paying taxes. Whether you like the politics of Donald Trump or not, his tax, not evasion, but tax style strategies towards real estate that are legal are very, very good in that book. Never Split the Difference. The guy's name's Chris Voss. He's an FBI negotiator, hostage negotiator turned business coach. He teaches you how to negotiate in real estate by being empathetic and just straight up calling it how it is. Evicted in the top right is from a tenant's side of what it's like to be evicted. It's pretty humbling. My wife read it and she handed it to me and said, you need to read this. So I said, and it's actually quite good. So Evicted, Rich Dad Poor Dad, of course, Brandon Turner, Rental Property Investing, and a few different ones, Millionaire Real Estate Investor, and a few other ones. So just check that out. We're going to open this up to questions, and in about 30 seconds, we're going to close the screen. You guys can continue chatting on the call, but we're going to ask some questions here, and then we're just going to let this go to the end. So please hang around. We got about 15 minutes here, and then we're going to call it for the night so that Matt and Ashley can go home. So before we do anything else, what kind of questions do we have from the audience? About anything, multifamily, about REI partners, about any deals, anything specific that we want to talk about tonight? Nothing.
Another question. Do you incur those new cash flow negative?
Yes. Yep. Cash flow negative is sometimes a good thing for you. If, again, you're running a business, to run a business and show a loss isn't a bad thing. Cash flow, to make sure we're all talking about the same thing, cash flow is your gross income, so all your rents, minus vacancy. Vacancy exists in every deal forever, whether you include it or not, or whether your area has zero vacancy or not. You have to account for it because the banks are going to account for it. They know it's real. Then you have your expenses, your utilities, and all that. People just think of cash flow and they think of money coming in the door. It's not. Cash flow is net profit after all of your expenses and really after your reserves. So John was talking about 10% maintenance reserve, 5% for capital expenditures, things like that, big things that go wrong. Whatever's left over at the end, which is what we calculate, that's cash flow if it's positive. But it's really not, because if you pay your loan off, then save 10% from maintenance, 10% from capital expenditures, and you're at $100 a month negative, yeah, your net's negative, but your gross is way positive. You might just have to put some money in for maintenance once in a while. So cash flow negative, you'd have to be a really poor deal to be negative cash flow. But if you're losing money, here's an example we use all the time. A ranch house in Los Angeles is $1 million. You're not going to rent that for 1% or 10 grand a month. That's the only way that you're going to make money in cash flow, right? Is by the 1% rule or close to it. So in Los Angeles, you're going to lose cash flow every month. But your property, if it's there in a few years after the ground's done shaking, is going to be worth a whole lot more, right? You guys are from out that way. Appreciation is the play. Houston, New York City, any of the West Coast, Hawaii. You're not renting for cash flow at all. You'll lose cash every month. But if you lose, let's say, $500 a month in cash flow, but your property goes up $20,000 to $30,000 a year in value, you're losing pennies to gain huge chunks every year. And it's all up here. What's your plan? You're not going to retire from your job for that. But in 10 years, you're going to have a huge piggy bank. So yeah, negative cash flow has some purpose. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, so do you rely more on IRR calculation or
internal rate of return? Yes. Well, for the investor, depending on what your goals are. So internal rate of return compared to cash flow, it might be important to you, it might not be. If you're looking to retire from your job, your net cash flow is very important. But if you're not, maybe you look at IRR or cap rate or something like that. Any other questions? Yes.
Given the thoughtful biology that you outlined in Blue High Valley, right, in terms of population growth, what is your deal flow look like?
Deal flow. Anybody on the call who's looking for deals in the Lehigh Valley? Who's going to type the chat and say there's none? Yes. Deals are very sparse. Inventory is very low. So there's two ways you could fix this. You could sit there and watch deals continue to be slow and fight for them when they come, or you find your own deals. That's where the last meetup was very important. We taught people how to find deals. Just after that, we talked about how to get more business in a very simple way. Nobody's doing it, right? And you've done it. Did it work? I mean, simple postcards. They work, but you have to target who you're looking at, and you have to look at who's coming. But the deals, you have to find them. If you have a property nearby to you that you want to buy, you just stop in and talk to the owner, or you skip trace them, find their phone number, and strike up a deal. If you can find the deal, you have the leverage. There will be a time where that's not the case, and you could just pick whatever you want off the MLS. But you be careful, because it's probably a lot better than it seems, right? John's been through a whole bunch of market cycles. He's lost a lot. He's won a lot more, but talk to him about that. Yeah, so this area is very, very sought after right now because it's positively growing. But you have to find a way to get the deals. Work with people who have deals. Network with people who might have deals. If you're working with agents, work with ones who are actively searching for sellers, not just helping buyers. Our team, almost every single listing that people call us to sell is sold before it's even in the market, because there's just that many people that want it. But yeah, deals are very tough to find here, and deals that match your criteria are even more tough. It's just part of it. It's a good space to be, though. We have the Snovers. You found a diamond in the rough, and it didn't look bad when you bought it, and then you shine that thing really nice, and now it's a pretty sweet opportunity. So find value where other people don't, and you can create your own investment. So that answer your question?
Yeah, thank you.
Yep. Anybody else? Christine.
Where somebody get converted one of the garages.
Mm-hmm.
Square agents that took that a lot. Not knowing whether the zoning permitted it or not, because some are getting really slow with that. Have you seen people actually when look and actually talk about or that when they're also looking at a potential listing to them?
Yes. Yep. We were just talking about this the other day, John. Having a piece of real estate that is in its current condition, you never look at it at what it is. What could it be? If there's a garage, what can we do with the garage? Can you rent it out? Can you put an apartment above it? Can you demolish it and build another 2 units? Every time you walk through a piece of real estate, it should be a fact-finding mission and I'm going to be an investor doing something to make money mission. You know, if you have a deal that's pretty close and you want to add an ADU onto your primary residence so that you can now get more money, it's real and it's powerful. Because let's say you turn that garage into livable space and you turn it into an apartment. Yeah, it's going to cost $50,000 to $100,000 to do that, if it can even be done or permitted. But that square footage added to the property is instantly going to pay for itself in appraised value. So you can essentially get that for free by using equity from your house or cash, changing or building an ADU, which is auxiliary dwelling unit, fancy name for additional apartment, additional something, additional whatever. And then once it's done, you go back to the bank and say, hey, my property is worth a lot more. What's my mortgage now? You might actually get that for free and get some money back. But when you're leveraging, make sure you do it the right way. So think about it. Every time you walk through that garage, think of another way to use it. That's a good question.
Cool. Ah. We put it in the second floor and that'll entire cost of the drop.
Yeah, 1,000 square foot of living space at $120, $130 a square foot. It'll come back to you immediately. Your property value is going to go up. See, that's what investors think about. What is the value of what I'm doing? It might cost a little bit of money, but you're going to make some back. Anybody else? There was a hand over here at some point. No? All right, guys. We're going to, Matt, what time we close up shop? Okay. We're going to hang out here for as long as you'd like. If you could please clean up after yourselves before you leave, network, stick around for as long as you'd like. And afterwards, we're going to send out a survey to see what you thought. Please be honest. And we're going to try and do some reviews on our Facebook page and Google to get some traction and help everybody. So thank you for coming. And please take food. There's to-go containers she put out. See you guys. Thank you for coming.